I was dating a childhood friend with a serious illness, but suddenly faced opposition from her parents. Her father yelled, "I wouldn't give my daughter to an uneducated, low-income man like you," and even said he wouldn't forgive me. Because of that, I had to sadly break up with her. However, 10 years later, upon seeing the grown-up me, her parents were in shock. What was a surprising transformation in me? My name is Sam Hale. I have someone I like, and her name is Katie Neal. Katie was my childhood friend, a girl who lived in my neighborhood. Because we lived close, we used to commute to school together every day. We were in the same class, so we spent almost all our time together. In our younger years, Katie and I talked about getting married in the future. We had built a very sweet relationship. As we got older, we naturally stopped talking about such things, but I always imagined a future where I would marry Katie. Katie had big eyes and was popular in our class, and I was often envied by the boys. We weren't exactly dating, but those around us thought we were and often said, "You're lucky, you have Katie." For some reason, people assumed we were a couple, and it felt like we are always seen as one. Because of that, whenever something happened to Katie, everyone would come to me. Katie was prone to getting sick, and when she did, everyone would report to me saying, "Katie is feeling unwell." "Hey Sam, Katie seems to be feeling sick. Go check on her quickly." Today, as always, I received such a report. I hurried to where Katie was. Katie was sitting in the gym, looking pale. Around her, female friends looked concerned. I approached Katie and asked, "Are you okay?" She whispered, "Yes." I decided to take Katie to the infirmary, supporting her as we walked. To be honest, Katie seemed to have quite a serious chronic illness. I didn't fully understand it as a child, but I knew it was very serious. "Katie, are you okay?" "We are almost at the infirmary. Hang in there." "Yes, thank you." Katie took labored breaths and seemed very distressed. Seeing her in such pain, I muttered, "I'm sorry I can't help you more." While I could take her to the infirmary and care for her, I couldn't cure her ailment. It was frustrating. That is what made me itch. Then Katie gently shook her head, signaling no. "Having you on my side comforts me. When you come to help, it eases my pain a bit. You've always been there for me." Katie said this with a smile. We lived our lives caring for each other, but by the time we graduated elementary school, Katie's family decided to move. They moved quite far away, separating us. I asked Katie for her contact information, and even though we were apart, we kept in touch. Despite the distance, I made a significant effort to visit Katie, usually by bike. We'd typically meet at parks, and due to the travel time, our meetings were short, only an hour or two of chatting. Though the meetings were simple, Katie always came to see me. After many such meetings, as Christmas approached one day, I finally confessed to Katie, "I love you. Will you go out with me?" Then Katie smiled brightly and gave a small nod. After we started dating, we spent many peaceful and happy days together. Meeting Katie was still a once-a-month affair, but I was full of happiness. However, on a particular day, we had planned for me to visit her. I was informed that Katie's chronic illness had worsened and we couldn't meet. Over the phone, Katie apologized, saying, "I'm sorry." "Don't worry about it," I assured Katie. I had always known she was frail from a young age. Then she hesitated, "Actually," and began to share about her illness. She revealed that her disease was a rare and challenging one to treat. Recently, her condition had worsened and seemed to be taking a turn for the worse. "I'm really sorry for today. I might have caused trouble for you, Sam." "Don't worry about me. I'm sorry I didn't realize earlier. You've always had a weak constitution." I felt guilty, realizing I had made her meet outside on cold days and rainy days. Then Katie explained that she didn't mention her health. because she didn't want me to worry and didn't want to put strain on our meetings. Her words touched me deeply. "Sam, will you still meet me from now on?" Hearing her uncharacteristically vulnerable voice, I responded, "Of course," with determination. We promised to meet as soon as she felt better. The feeling of helplessness gnawed at me. If possible, I would shoulder half of her illness. I wished there was something, anything, I could do to cure her. But Katie's health didn't improve, and we went without seeing each other for over a month. Then, one day, I received a phone call at my place. When I answered, "Hello," a man's voice asked, "Are you Sam?" I replied, "Yes, who is this?" And the man identified himself as Katie's father. "You are the Sam who used to live nearby, right? It seems you've been leading my daughter astray. Could you stop?" His words took me by surprise. It seemed that Katie had kept our relationship a secret from her parents. Defensively, I raised my voice. I haven't misled her in any way. I am sincerely dating Katie. As I argued back, Katie's father shouted in anger, "I don't approve. Born to a family with low education and income, you are no match for my daughter. Katie's condition is unpredictable due to her illness." Katie's father was furious. "You are not ready for this." He continued, "And besides," he said, "aren't you a child of a single parent? Your mother never attends school events or community gatherings. And isn't she uneducated? Someone born to such a mother couldn't possibly take good care of Katie." It was true, I had only a mother. My mother, who worked all day to raise me and couldn't attend school events or community gatherings. Katie's parents seemed to judge my mother as irresponsible. If I had been more articulate, maybe I could have responded. But in the face of Katie's father's aggression and my shock, I was speechless. "Considering the relationship between our families, I can't accept you. I won't allow it." With that, he abruptly hung up. I was left stunned in a daze. For a long time, I reflected on the matter. There was so much I couldn't ignore, and while part of me was furious, I couldn't help but wonder if I truly deserved Katie. And I didn't think much of my character. I didn't believe we were a good match. So I have to become someone who is worthy. If I become the person worthy of Katie, maybe her parents would accept me. With this in mind, I decided to pursue my dreams and committed to my studies like never before. A few days later, Katie called me, tearfully apologizing for everything that happened. She was devastated that their relationship was exposed and regretted the hurtful things said to me and my mother. "Katie, it's not just your father's fault. I shouldn't have let him misunderstand, and I should have been more persuasive. I'm not the right person for you as I am now. So, let's break up," I said. It hurt to say it, but continuing to date in secret would only hurt Katie more. Katie cried, saying she didn't want to break up. So I told her how I needed to change and become someone her parents could approve of. "When I become a responsible adult, I promise to come for you. If you still feel the same way about me then, let's be together again." Katie seemed hesitant, but in the end, she seemed convinced, murmuring, "I understand," in a soft voice. Perhaps Katie herself felt that things couldn't continue as they were. And so, we ended our relationship. After that, I studied intensely. Until now, I had been an average student in school, neither particularly good nor bad, if anything, slightly below average. I was just an ordinary student who didn't like studying. But the reason why such an ordinary student like me started to study so hard was because I wanted to go to medical school. People around me were surprised to see me studying hard for medical school. When they asked me why, they laughed, saying, "That's impossible, LOL." I was constantly told it was a futile effort and was ridiculed. Yet, I continued to study without losing heart. Realizing I had reached my limit studying on my own, I earnestly asked my mother if I could attend a cram school. I explained to Maddie my intense desire to attend medical school and that I'd take out a scholarship for my studies. Maddie was surprised, saying, I had no idea. It seemed she never imagined that I would aim for medical school. She said, I understand, and allowed me to go to the cram school and pursue medical school. Sam, you never complained, even when I was busy with work. Even when I couldn't attend school events, making me a failure as a mother, you always encouraged me. Now it's my turn to encourage you. With that, my mother smiled warmly. Though those unaware of our circumstances might have thought we were poor, we certainly weren't. While we weren't overflowing with wealth, we weren't as low income as Katie's parents thought. It was all because my mother worked hard. My mother, who had worked tirelessly for me, was now in a significant position due to her achievements and led a busy life. She had become a career woman. But why medical school? I had no idea you wanted to be a doctor. I answered mother's question honestly. I told her about a girl I liked wanting to cure her of a severe illness, and wanting to be a man who everyone thinks is worthy of her. I want to meet the expectations of the girl who believed in me until the end. But medical school costs a lot. I'm sorry, I muttered softly. Upon hearing my determination, my mother nodded, saying, It's okay. Then, with a smile, she said, Go whenever you wish. I won't hesitate to support you. I had been saving up for the day you'd have a dream. So don't worry about the money and do your best. My mother said these words with great conviction. I was able to receive my mother's loving assistance, and I studied as hard as I could while I slept. Time flies, and then come the exams. The results are announced. I passed the medical school entrance exam with flying colors. 10 years later, I am a practicing physician and working hard at a hospital. I am finally getting used to being a doctor. I keep in touch with Katie little by little, and I'm trying to make up for past time. However, he is unable to say, I came to pick you up as promised. He is afraid that Katie's parents will oppose him again, or that he will make Katie cry. I became a doctor to cure Katie's illness. Will you go out with me again? He was unable to say this, so he kept putting it off. One day, however, something happened. Katie's condition worsened, and she collapsed. He learns from the paramedics that Katie is being transported to the hospital, and immediately responds that his hospital will accept her. I thought I would heal Katie someday. I chose a university hospital close to Katie's home, and it seemed to have worked. Katie was brought to me and looked very distressed and pale. I was assigned as her primary surgeon and was in charge of Katie's surgery. The surgery was a great success. I had been studying about the intractable disease of heart for a long time, drawing simulations in my mind over and over again, and practicing. It finally bore fruit. I was able to save Katie safely, and I was a little tearful. Katie was still a little fuzzy from the anesthesia, but when she saw me, she smiled and said, Thank you. You kept your promise. Thank you so much. I've been waiting for you. I squeezed Katie's hand. I finally said to her, I'm here to pick you up, Katie. Just then, Katie's parents came rushing into the hospital room. When they saw me, their eyes widened and they glared at me. What are you doing here? The father yelled at me, wondering why I was here. I told you to stay away from my daughter. You've been following me around like a stalker this whole time. No, sir. I did no such thing. Father, please calm down. I don't remember being your father. I told you I wouldn't have a daughter with you, a low-educated, low-income man. Katie's father was yelling at her, and Katie said weakly, "Dad, stop. Dad, Sam saved me. Don't say such a terrible thing." "He saved you? What are you talking about? He's stalking you like a stalker." "It's you who's talking nonsense. It's because Sam successfully performed their surgery that I'm alive like this." Katie's father raised his eyebrows. "Huh?" But when he looked at me seriously and noticed that I was wearing a white coat, he paled. Katie's mother says, "A doctor?" When they saw me as a doctor, they both let loose. A few days later, Katie's parents apologized to me. They sincerely apologized for everything they had done to disrespect and humiliate my mother. Katie's father says regretfully that he responded terribly because he was too concerned about not knowing when Katie might collapse or being in danger. He had strongly wished for her to live peacefully. Katie's mother also shed tears, saying that nursing her child for some time was mind-numbing and that she had hit him too hard. I tell them both, "It's okay, don't worry about it." Then I told them that I had tried to become a person they would recognize, that I had become a doctor to cure her, and that I would continue to support her. "Would you allow me to associate with your daughter?" When I said this, they both tearfully and willingly agreed. A year passed, and I was able to marry Katie. Now I am on good terms with Katie's parents and have a good relationship with my mother. My mother said, "It was your efforts that brought about this result." "I made the future bright," she said. "Maybe not all hard work pays off, but I got the best results from my efforts. I will continue to make efforts and spend my time supporting and protecting Katie."